Hi viewers, this is Wakar Corby from TFT Perspective, and today we are going to discuss, some commotions within Afghanistan, especially the Taliban regime and how they are going to affect the region. Recently, on 14 September, we had an article in Al Jazeera about Taliban with the title "Not All Is Well Inside the Taliban." So this is, I think, significant because Al Jazeera definitely is a state channel of the Qatari government, and Qatar has been, I think, the epicenter of negotiations between the U.S. international community and Taliban, and formation of, I think, Taliban government. Qatar has played an important role. So something being published in Al Jazeera should be taken very seriously. Now, the article basically talks of differences emerging in the governance structure or in the power structure or the power pillars, especially when it relates to Mullah Haibatullah Akhundzada, who is the supreme leader, and the deputy leader, who is also the interior minister, Mr. Sirajuddin Haqqani. So this is very, very significant, and there are reasons for that. One, of course, is that when Taliban 2 came in, there were assurances given by the Taliban that they'll be definitely, their governance will be better off or better than what was with Taliban 1 of the 90s. Definitely, people looking at women rights, education for all, sports, and Afghanistan behaving like a normal state in third decade of 21st century. But gradually, we have seen that, and the article also points out that Taliban 2 leadership is now trying to consolidate power and bring conservatives within the system. So initial appointments, as mentioned, the old guards are not ceding power. Like Mullah Hassan Akhund is the prime minister, definitely is part of the old guard. Then Mullah Ghani brother, who was the co-founder of Taliban movement, is the deputy prime minister. And then Mullah Yaqub, who is a young man, but son of Mullah Umar, the I would say founder of Taliban, is the defense minister. So these are very, very important portfolios. The other is that Supreme Leader has decided to stay in Kandahar. What is the reason? Is it maybe he feels secure there? Otherwise, I think when you have political power, you should be operating from Kabul. So it becomes very, very difficult for any diplomats in terms of accessing Mullah Haibatullah because the seat of power actually now resides in Kandahar. Similarly, Education Minister Mr. Noorullah Munir was replaced by Mullah Habibullah Agha, again a hardliner, and recently Health Minister Kalandar Ibad, who was the only technocrat or doctor in the Afghan interim government, was replaced by Noor Jalal again, I would say from the old guard. So these things are now being discussed in the international media also, but within Afghanistan also there is a pressure mounting against the supreme leader to, I think, change course. We also had an unconfirmed report that in the last sojourn by the supreme leader, where he traveled the northern provinces, he actually discouraged Taliban in watching cricket or playing cricket. And somehow, if you look at cricket team's development, it is said that Sirajuddin Haqqani has a bigger role because he feels that this is the only soft face of, let's say, Taliban regime which can help in, let's say, sports diplomacy. So again, it feels that maybe Mullah Haibatullah Akhundzada is now trying to not undermine cricket but Sirajuddin Haqqani. So I think these are very major issues which have erupted. So they basically create two fault lines. One is, of course, within the Taliban hierarchy, and Haqqanis are very powerful faction in terms of their military power, in terms of their sacrifices for Taliban, and even if you look at US and the West, Haqqanis were a prime target and they lost a lot of lives also. So they have given their blood for the current regime, and definitely they would expect something in return. The other is emerging between the old Northern Alliance, which definitely is getting regrouped under Ahmad Shah Massoud's son, Mr. Massoud. And he, in one of the interviews, has indicated that I think 14 provinces are in revolt, and especially in the northern and northwestern region where people are now fighting. There is also element of ISIS. We have seen, I think, within last week, two major attacks taking place in which some of the Taliban second tier leaders were killed. So all told, I think Afghanistan is still not stabilized. If you look at the economy, and I always say that although the Afghan currency is doing better than Pakistani rupees, but ultimately it's the overall economy. Only Faisalabad in Pakistan has more GDP than entire Afghan GDP. So that's where the economy lies. Now, economy is also creating a lot of stress in terms of jobs, but because if you lock half of the population, especially women, so if Afghanistan is 40 million, you lock 20 million of the population, their houses, and you just allow up to middle level of education. Where in last 20 years, I think Afghan women have been on the forefront in governance, in businesses, and there are a lot of widows definitely who would like to work in certain areas where they can earn a decent living. So if you lock down half of your population, there are going to be serious problems. Then there is the issue of jobs, because the youth feels that most of the jobs have gone to Taliban factions, and there is a problem of meritocracy. There is also, talk of in Pakistan we say Qabza groups, in which those people who left Afghanistan, definitely they were businessmen or bureaucrats or judges or journals or military officers, or maybe from the Northern Alliance. Their lands and properties and businesses were actually taken over by Taliban faction. So there is a huge Qabza group which has come up. So all told, I think things are not hunky-dory. Taliban has to actually realize. We also had the incidents of Taliban Consul General in Peshawar not paying, diplomatic courtesy when the national anthem was played. And later on, the reason given was that maybe, it was music, and, they're very strict about it. We have seen some videos in which function with the Chinese, when the Chinese anthem was played with the music, the Taliban senior leadership was standing. So I think Taliban to realize that in case they want to exist as part of the region, people are talking of strategic connectivity, CPEC, extension of CPEC, North-South corridor, or the pipeline like TAPI. They'll have to get integrated with the region, and they have to live in 21st century. Islam does allow education for women, and of course, definitely, within certain parameters, women can get education in Afghanistan. There's no harm in that. Similarly, Islam warrants that they should have brotherhood with the neighboring countries, and especially when you have cultural linkage with Pakistan, Iran, or Central Asia. But you can only be accommodated in case you behave like a state. So if they want to behave like a militia, I don't think so. This arrangement is going to last very long. So an advice for Taliban would be, one, of course, deliver governance for your people. The other is have good relations with your neighbors. Thank you very much.